Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 9. Today we're going to be talking about the finale of the Red Death saga. That is going to be happening next week. We've got the photos for the episode, plus also we have photos for the next episode, which is episode 6, which is a interlude episode. So we've got a lot to break down in this video, so stick around, and if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future DCTV videos later this year. Okay guys, so this week's episode was the penultimate episode of the Red Death story. That was the Master of the Red Death part 1. Now we're moving on to the Master of the Red Death part 2, which is coming out on March 8th. That is in 3 days time as of when I'm recording this video. It's a Sunday. But the CW has released the new photos, as I just said before. We got to break this down because this is obviously a direct continuation from what we had last episode. And let's quickly recap about what went down. So we got an explanation as to where Red Death comes from, the fact that she's probably not from Reverse Flashpoint like many of us theorized, but she's from another timeline, and she claims, and the reason I emphasize claims is the fact that half of what she is saying in the episode could be seen as lies, because she was lying to Iris throughout nearly the entire episode just to get to her. And so you have to take it with a grain of salt as to what exactly she told us, but she said she was originally in the Justice League and she was presumably a good version of Batwoman, just like our Batwoman from Earth Prime. But then she became fascinated with her colleagues in the League and she started studying them, and one of the people that she studied was the Flash, and after everything went downhill, basically she was able to create the suit, and the suit had speed, and when she tried to get into the Speed Force, she was kicked out of her own timeline and landed here. Obviously there is some plot holes there in terms of how exactly she wound up here out of anywhere else, and how she would even try and get into the Speed Force, because it's not really possible unless you have speedster powers. But the reason she is here is to get revenge on her Flash. Now, I have to emphasize this, I don't think we're going to see her Flash because of the fact that this story is so short. We are literally finishing this Red Death story next episode. We'll probably see her face off against Batwoman in the episode because we've seen photos of Batwoman on set. So it will be Javicia versus Javicia, which I'm very much so looking forward to. But I think if we got a longer story with Red Death, just like we traditionally would have back in season 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe we would have seen that other version of the Flash, and we don't know who this Flash is, if it was actually a doppelganger of Barry or not, but it's clear that they are important to the story, and I think it's a shame that we're not going to get to see them. And so I just wanted to start off the video with that, giving a brief recap of what went down last episode and my thoughts on it. But for now, let's jump right ahead and go into these photos. So the first photo we have is of Barry and Iris hugging. We could interpret this photo in many different ways, but I'm pretty sure we can be certain of what is exactly going down in this scene based on what we've been told earlier in the season. The fact that Iris is supposed to get pregnant very, very soon, and we've seen some photos already that showed them hugging the members of Team Flash. And if we look back recently in these last 4 episodes of The Flash, people haven't been hugging too much. Like, yeah, Iris and Barry had some fun here and there, but in terms of like Chester and Allegra, pretty much been quiet in terms of happiness and things like hugging. And so I'm pretty sure what we're seeing here is the fact that, yes, they got confirmation that Iris is pregnant, and I think this is what we're seeing right here, that Nora is actually finally going to come. Again, the timeline is not set. There is always the possibility that Bart and Nora become twins instead of being born after each other, and I think that would actually be very fitting, considering that would link back to the comics and how it normally is, because normally Barry and Iris do have twins, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's pretty much what I believe is going on in that photo. You guys can tell me your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Am I right? Am I wrong? Okay, so the next photo, we've seen this photo before, and it's just a bit strange because also in the next photos, there's another photo that has been released before, and so this was released before episode 1 premiered, and we were led to believe that this was in the early episodes, but it turns out this is in episode 5, the ending of Red Death's story. And what do I think is happening here? I'm not too sure. It's quite dramatic, the lighting, and this episode is going to be heavy on Red Death, so I presume Barry has either fought Red Death or is about to go fight Red Death, because he's fully suited up, he's ready, and we know things are going to go down in this episode. And also the synopsis teases that Barry and Iris are going to be working together, and they're going to come up with a plan, and they need Cecile's help in this episode. So I'm pretty sure this is Barry going out and trying to enact that plan, or it's him going out before they even get started on that plan, and maybe he's been a bit reckless. So that's my theory as to that photo. But in terms of what they also say in the synopsis is Barry's faced with what he thinks was his greatest mistake and Red Death's greatest success. You can presume from this, and I've talked about this in a video recently, that with them saying was, it's something to do with Barry's past, and there is clearly a link between Barry and Red Death. And you would presume from what we've been told about Red Death that they have no actual link beyond being both speedsters. Obviously Red Death is an artificial speedster because she was able to create artificial speed and give it to her suit, but somehow there is a greater link at hand, and we'll find out what that is in this episode. Alright, we have a photo of Joe at his home, and clearly this is going to be one of Joe's final episodes, because we've seen him in every episode, I believe, since the start of the season, and we know that he's just a recurring character this season because he was busy filming another TV show that he is the lead on. But what could be going on here? Well, as I said in the first photo, I believe Iris is going to be confirmed to be pregnant in this episode. So from this photo and the next photo where you see Cecile smiling at Barry in their home, I'm pretty sure they've just told them that yes, Iris is going to be a mother and Barry's going to be a father, because both Joe and Cecile are smiling. And clearly they've known this is going to be happening for a long time. It's been talked about many times, especially since Nora and Bart showed up many times in the past. But the fact that it's becoming a reality in the present is a huge deal. And yes, it's not like the biggest deal in their entire life because they've already met their future kids. But considering it's happening right now, and that you're going to see them as babies, if it is twins or just Nora as a baby, is going to be huge for them. But that does it in terms of my breakdown of the photos for episode 5. We actually have photos, as I mentioned before, for episode 6, which is the following episode that is going to be coming out on March 15th. This is titled The Good, the Bad, and the Lucky. This is the first interlude episode that will follow on from the Red Death story. So this is episode 6 of season 9, as I said before. The first photo we have is of Keone, and she's in Star Labs looking up at what is presumably 2 other people or maybe 1 other person, and I presume that is in the same kind of scene as what we're seeing in the next photo. And this is the photo that we've seen before, but it's better quality, and it's of Barry hugging Chester and Iris hugging Allegra. And this is clearly a follow-on from the previous episode where Barry and Iris are supposedly going to find out about Nora coming, and they've gone ahead and told Joe and Cecile first, and I believe this will be at the start of episode 6 where they give the news to the rest of Team Flash. And so that's definitely why they're being given these huge hugs, and Barry and Iris are smiling so much. Like, there is no other reason for this to be happening unless it is a Chalegra wedding, which at this point is clearly not going to happen, even though we were memeing about that back when this photo was released before the season started. So anyway, that's what's going on here as far as I'm aware, and I'm literally 100% confident about this, because the next photo following this is in Barry and Iris's apartment, and Chester's here, Barry's here, Cecile is here, Keone is in the background too, and if you look even further into the background, you have pink balloons. What does that signify? A girl. And what else do you have hanging from the ceiling? Literally XS's superhero emblem. So clearly this is them celebrating the fact that Nora is on her way. And so yeah, I'm very excited about this. I don't think we're actually going to see baby Nora this season. Maybe right at the end of the season, but that's because it's very stereotypically hard to incorporate babies into TV shows and actually have them around, because it's kind of hard to have babies act because, well, you know why. So I believe this is going to be an off-screen thing when it actually happens, or right at the end of the season, and that's kind of how we end the show on a very good note. So The final photo that they released for episode 6 is of Cecile and Allegra, which is to do with a case that Cecile and Allegra are both working on together. According to the synopsis, it's something to do with a string of unfortunate and highly unexpected events. So considering the lighting of this scene, I'm going to presume that this is them encountering one of those unfortunate events. And so let's go over the rest of the synopsis because I actually haven't gone over this. So as Barry and Iris prepare for their new life, which is exactly what we just talked about, and the fact that this is 100% happening pretty much is confirmed just by that one line, luck changes for those in Central City. Cecile takes on a case with Allegra's help involving a string of unfortunate and highly unexpected events. Meanwhile, Chester and the team work with Keone to figure out her abilities. So the reason for the mention of luck is because we're going to be seeing the return of Becky Sharp in this episode, who was nicknamed Hazard in season 4 by Cisco. We've known about her return for quite a long time. She actually originally died back in season 4 because she was linked to DeVoe, and she even became the Thinker at one point. But because we're in a post-crisis timeline, this is presumably the reason that she was able to come back. And maybe she still has her metahuman powers, considering this episode is all about luck, and the synopsis mentions luck is changing for those in Central City. And so I'm pretty sure Barry and the rest of the team are going to figure out what's going on with that. But alongside that, they are also going into Keone's powers. I think they've made it pretty clear by now that Keone's powers is going to be all about the elements, and she's presumably going to be able to control different elements, not just ice, but water, earth, and everything else. She's basically the Avatar, is what they're saying, and what's probably going to happen. But overall, I'm kind of looking forward to this episode, but at the same time kind of not, because I wasn't a big fan of Hazard back in season 4, so I'm not sure how I feel about it. And also, I don't really like the interlude episodes typically. However, I will have to retract that statement very soon, because one of these episodes beyond episode 6 is going to be the Dreamer episode. So it's going to be a Flash Supergirl crossover, which is going to be one of the last times that we see any of those characters on screen together, so I'm looking forward to that. Plus, obviously, can't wait for Wednesday's episode of The Flash. We're going to have coverage on the channel, and if you've missed any recent videos, please be sure to go back on my page and check for any videos, because we've made lots of coverage, and there's still more to talk about in regards to Red Death. I'll probably make one more video before my review of next week's episode. So for now, if you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Also, subscribe and turn on notifications if you are new, so you don't miss any daily uploads, because we are uploading daily right now, and we should have a live stream on Wednesday night. It's going to be a bit later on Wednesday as far as I have scheduled it right now, so stick around for that. And for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.